I want to tell you about a client I'll call Mara. Mara was 43 years old, ran a successful consulting firm, and had not said a genuine no to anyone in her professional life for over a decade. Not to her clients, not to her team, not to her business partner who had a habit of scope creeping every project they worked on together. Mara described her relationship with boundaries this way. I know I need them. I read all the books. I have the scripts, but every time I try to use them, it feels like I'm building a wall between me and the people I care about. And I said to her, Mara, that's because the boundaries you've been taught look like walls. What I want to show you is what a filter feels like. Because here's the thing, in somatic science, a wall and a boundary are not the same thing, not even close. A wall is a protective structure that keeps everything out, including the things that are safe, nourishing, and regulating. A wall is armor. It's the nervous system's way of saying, I can't trust my own ability to discern, so I'll just shut the whole system down. A boundary is a filter. It's a living, breathing, biological signal that lets in what's regulating and keeps out what's not. It's not static. It moves. It requires presence. It requires a nervous system that is regulated enough to stay in the discomfort of discernment. Today, we're building that nervous system. We are going deep on the neuroscience of why no feels dangerous and how to make it feel like home. Welcome to The Regulated Life. I'm Erica Carter-Folk, transformational coach and nervous system educator. And this is Method Monday, where we deep dive into the science of the practice of somatic healing. If you've been with us since week 1, you know that we have been building the biology of belonging, the science of how our nervous system learns to connect, protect, and regulate. We've moved through the foundation, through the excavation layers, through the bridge work, and now we are here, the advanced layer. The place where we do the most sophisticated and most necessary work. This is the biology of boundaries, and today's question is this. Is your no a wall that protects you from everything? Or is it a safety signal that protects you for something? Let's find out. Here's the central paradox of boundaries for the nervous system. The people who need boundaries the most are usually the ones who find them the most threatening to enact. Think about that for a second. The chronic overfunctioner, the compulsive people pleaser, the one who has been giving from empty for so long they've forgotten what full feels like. These are the people for whom a no carries the highest relational risk. At least that's what their nervous system believes. And that belief is not irrational. It's learned. It is the result of a nervous system that's received consistent feedback somewhere at some point that compliance was safer than refusal, that love was conditional on output, that saying no created the kind of rupture that might not repair. Dr. Peter Levine, the founder of Somatic Experiencing, talks about how trauma doesn't just live in our memories. It lives in our responses, in the automatic precognitive reactions we have to situations that feel similar to the original wound. A grown adult who says yes to everything at work is not being spineless. They're being adaptive. Their nervous system is running a very old program. Keep people happy and you stay safe. The work is not to override that program through willpower. The work is to update it, to give the nervous system new, lived, somatic evidence that no can be safe, that a no can be connected, that a no can actually strengthen the very relationships we're terrified of damaging. That is the neuroscience of what we're doing today. Let's start with the island archetype, because this is where I see the most misunderstood version of the boundary conversation. The island, in our nervous system framework, is the person who uses distance as a regulation strategy. Rigid schedules, control over environment, emotional unavailability, strong stated preferences about alone time. From the outside, it looks like they have excellent boundaries. From the inside, their nervous system is in near constant low-grade defensive state. The island isn't protected. The island is armored. And armor is not a boundary. Armor is the nervous system's response to the belief that intimacy is inherently threatening. It's the dorsal vagal system, the evolutionary freeze response, showing up as self-sufficiency. Dr. Stephen Porges' Polyvagal Theory explains this beautifully. The ventral vagal system, our social engagement system, requires a baseline sense of safety to remain online. When that safety is absent or inconsistent, the nervous system defaults to more primitive protective states. The island's boundaries are often the sympathetic or dorsal system doing what they've always done, keeping connection at a manageable distance. Now let's talk about the regulated person's relationship with no. This is what a filter looks like in practice. A regulated no comes from the ventral vagal state. It's not a shutdown. It's not a wall. It's a clear, present, connected communication that says, this is my capacity, and I'm choosing to honor it so I can remain in genuine relationship with you. The physiological difference is measurable. In studies on vagal tone, the flexibility and responsiveness of the vagus nerve, researchers have found that higher vagal tone is associated with a greater ability to regulate emotional responses without withdrawal or explosion. In other words, people with higher vagal tone can say no and stay present. They don't need to shut down to protect themselves. This is why the work of building boundaries is always, always, always the work of building vagal tone first. You cannot access a regulated no from a dysregulated system. You can access a fearful no, a resentful no, a collapsed no, but the clean, clear, connected no that actually builds relationships, that requires a nervous system that trusts its own capacity to hold the moment. Now I want to go into the relational dimension because this is where most of my clients live and where the most healing needs to happen. We have a cultural story about no that is frankly traumatizing. We've been taught that saying no is selfish, that it is unkind, that a truly generous, loving, good person finds a way to say yes, or at least a gentle, apologetic, heavily created version of no that still leaves the other person feeling accommodated. And what this cultural story has produced, particularly for women, for caretakers, for first-generation high achievers, for people who grew up in environments where their emotional labor was the price of belonging, is a population of people who are physically incapable of accessing their genuine no. Not because they don't have one, because the nervous system learned to intercept it before it reaches the mouth. The Gottman Institute's research on relationship sustainability offers a fascinating counter-narrative here. The longitudinal studies found that the happiest, most stable couples were not the ones who never said no to each other. They were the ones who could say no, clearly, cleanly, and without rupturing the relational bond in the process. The research term for this is bid acceptance and rejection. A bid is an attempt at connection, a request, a question, a reach for closeness. And here's what the data shows. It's not the rejection of bids that damages the relationships. It's the contempt that accumulates when one person is never allowed to reject. When resentment builds silently beneath the surface of compliance. When the yes person becomes the resentful person, becomes the disconnected person. Your no is not a threat to the people who love you. It is an invitation to a more honest relationship. And the people who cannot tolerate it, the people who interpret your boundary as abandonment, your limit as attack, those people are showing you something important about the kind of connection they're capable of offering. And that information, as painful as it is also a gift. So here's the practical path for this week. I want you to pick one relationship, one context, one recurrent situation where your yes is costing you more than you can genuinely afford. Not the hardest one, not the most loaded, the smallest one. The place where your yes is a habit rather than a choice. And I want you to introduce a capacity audit before your next response. 3 questions. Does my breath expand or contract when I think about saying yes? Am I bracing or relaxing? In 2 hours, will this feel like a resource or a resentment? You don't have to say no yet. You just have to notice. You're building a neurological pathway between your body signal and your conscious awareness. That pathway, once established, changes everything. And if you want support going deeper, if you want to understand your specific nervous system archetype and the exact patterns that are keeping your no stuck in your throat, the Relational Nervous System Quiz is a place to start. Free, 5 minutes, and genuinely illuminating. Link is in the show notes. Next week, we're going somewhere I've been looking forward to this entire series. We're talking about the repair and what happens in the nervous system after a boundary is set. How do you hold a limit and hold a relationship? What does rupture and repair look like in a regulated system? And what does it mean to rebuild trust in yourself and in your closest connections after years of saying yes when you meant something else entirely? If this episode landed for you, please share it with someone who needs it. You're not just consuming content when you share this. You're co-regulating your community. You're saying this matters and so do you. I'll see you tomorrow for Raw Regulation. Until then, take care of your nervous system. It's the only one you've got.